It's 6:31. All right. Now we start with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic
for which it stands,
one
one nation, under God,
indivisible,
indivisible,
with
with liberty and justice for all.
All right, next is the approval of the minutes of the December 3rd meeting. Does anybody have any corrections or omissions? Any questions?
I think I read it pretty thoroughly. I think it's okay, so I will accept the minutes.
The only thing I found was on the last page under opportunities for community input. It says there was a comment from the public. I think it should say there was no
No
comment.
comment.
Thank you.
Okay, otherwise, can we have a motion to accept the minutes?
I motion that we accept the minutes.
Okay,
I second.
Second, Leila. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay, so moved.
One abstention. Wasn't there?
Who is it? Massimo?
Yes, Massimo.
Sorry, Massimo was an extension.
Thank you.
Extension. If I'm turning green, I don't know what's going on.
You're back to normal.
Yeah, back to normal.
It's okay.
I'm green. It's not envy. Okay, let's move to on the chairman's report. The only thing I'd like to mention is that I had the occasion to drive up Main Street this afternoon, and I had my first red light at Long Hill Green. I saw the building down that was demolished. It finally
Yes.
came down. And I saw all the work being done at Main Street and Lake Avenue. They're cleaning up that site very nicely.
Mhm.
So there's a lot going on, and that's just one street. And Irina, can you give us your report?
Oh, yes. Well, I actually had some of that on there, so you gave me a good intro here. But yeah, folks know that I just got an updated picture from Alicia. The building that the flower shop formerly was in Long Hill Green is the actual building is totally down now as of this afternoon. And I just want to make a point. I know there are people that are, concerned about the historic significance of the building, et cetera. There was a whole process where the demolition delay committee went out. There's actually somebody associated with the the Historical Society on that. They really reviewed the building and just the level of the condition of it, et cetera. But there are the rafters, the wood rafters and this wooden bookshelf and part of a wall that are going to be turned over to the History Society. And they can
nice.
reuse those in other things or keep them in their collection, what have you. So that is happening. So there is some salvaging of elements that have historic significance within the building that they feel they would have some use for over time. So that's been done, just so folks know. So that is coming down. And we expect that project, that demolition will, if, weather permitting, should be cleaned up by the end of the week. I mean, it's not, that's a much smaller, structure. So, that's been, a number of years in the waiting. One thing I do want to spend a little time on, which is not a positive thing I have to report. So folks will remember that I think I reported in the December meeting, and I can't remember the timing exactly. But One Trefoil Drive, which is, if you go past Prime 111, it's on the same side of the road as Prime 111 on the corner of Trefoil Drive. That property is under contract. and there is a proposal to build a 36,000 square foot commercial development there with a 26,000 square foot grocer,
Right?
a restaurant, a fast food restaurant, and a medical, what do you call it? Stop in. I'm trying to think.
Urgent
I don't
care.
know.
Urgent.
Urgent
Okay.
type of thing, yeah, stop
Is
in.
Is it both a restaurant and a fast food?
Yes,
Okay.
yes. So that is moving through the wetlands process, which has to happen before it comes to the land use board, the planning and zoning board, right? Wetlands Police Commission happened previous to planning and zoning. So they started their wetlands hearings last month. And Shanice did a great write-up on the project and so forth. And I know there's been conversation about concerns that the project might get appealed. Unfortunately, it is confirmed that the project is being appealed by the DiNardo Enterprises, their LLC that associates with the building across the street that, their property is right across the street that has Home Depot in it.
Mm-hmm.
So they are filing an appeal. After we finish this meeting today, I'm going into the wetlands meeting, which is probably starting up at about 7. And I have to hop over there to listen in on that follow-up meeting. But Joel Green, who is an attorney, is representing them in the appeal. So as of this point, it appears that the developer that has that under contract is going to proceed, sort of eyes open to what this means. And we'll see where that goes. You'll remember that the same group appealed 48 Monroe Turnpike and held that up for 5 years. I would hope that this is a little bit different in terms of the length of time they can hold it up, because there's less stops, I think, along the way. Potentially, I don't know that for certain, but they can certainly delay the project, or worse, they could have other impact to the project. So it's extremely unfortunate and upsetting. The community wants another grocer. This particular grocer, and I'm not at liberty to discuss who it is publicly, but is a grocer that wanted to be on that side of 25. So they were not looking, they did not want to be in Trumbull Center. They had a target area they were looking in. So it really isn't a competition to Trumbull Center. So I don't know what their motives are at all, but it's highly unfortunate. In my opinion, it just hurts our Grandless growth, just like the appeals on 48 Monroe Turnpike. But it is what it is, and they have a statutory right to appeal. They are considered an abutter. And someone asked me, well, how are they an abutter? They're on the other side of the street. So the law, the law looks at, the court looks at the property line as the center of the road for appeal purposes. So your property comes to the center, the other property comes to the center. So they're considered a direct abutter, and they have standing, and they under the statute to appeal. So they're within their rights. I just want to make sure I'm clear about that. It's just upsetting from a community perspective, from an economic and community development perspective. We work hard to try to get these projects in place. And these kinds of appeals, I think, are counterproductive for the entire community, but it is what it is, and we will, continue to move through the process.
Do they stipulate why at all? What their
So they
complaint
will,
is?
so they, I don't know what their motive is. I can guess at that, but I don't want to do that. That's not for me to say what their motive is. But when they go through the appeal process, they challenge all kinds of legal things, or like decisionary things within the wetlands approval or whatever. There's all kinds of things they try to throw kind of the kitchen sink at it. And, it's got to go through, a formal process with the courts and so forth. So it's just deeply upsetting. And
Is there a way for the public to, kind of counter, like to show up to a meeting and say like why the public, the citizens want something?
It's always helpful to have the public showing up because it really puts on the record the community support for the project. So that's positive. Because remember, the whole record becomes part of the hearing, the court case, they'll be entering all the formal, if someone speaks on the record or submits letters or whatever, all that becomes part of the formal record, which goes into the appeal.
Because I know, having spoken to some people about this possibility of this development, everyone I spoke to was like very excited and
Yeah,
happy about
right.
it. So
Right,
think
and
I
there's a lot of
also-
work that goes into, getting these kinds of things moving forward. And it's just, so I like what you're asking here in terms of the impact, and it's always helpful. So to the degree that any commissioner, either as an individual resident or the commission itself wants to take an action to put something on the record that they support this and for all the reasons that the commission supports it, and or a commissioner as an ambassador to the neighborhoods and community members wants to encourage friends, family, other residents, they have to be a resident, they have to live in Trumbull, or have a business in Trumbull that supports this, and to that degree. Dan, as a business, I believe you did this for the 48 Monroe Turnpike project. I think it was when Jeff was still working for the chamber, but I think I have a recollection that Jeff actually spoke at one of the hearings in support of it. So that would be, helpful. Right now they're in wetlands, and so, I think that all along the way, we need the support from the community, from the business leadership, and so forth. So maybe this commission can take up a discussion in our February meeting or between then, about maybe if somebody wanted to, start to draft a letter that the commission could take a look at, that might be a letter of support for the project.
Okay. I'm
That's,
happy to be involved with that. So if
Okay.
anybody else wants to join, and I think I would just need some guidance on, what meetings are effective for us to attend, and when, and timeline, I guess, of when we need to get this done.
okay, so maybe we can have a follow-up conversation. Does anybody want to work with Layla and myself on any of this? I think Fred, am I seeing you?
Yes, I will help.
All right, so maybe the three of us, we can find a time where we can do a little Zoom meeting or something. And
No
so
problem.
just wheels are running, and maybe we can have it as an agenda item in February.
I can assist as well. I'm just curious, was there any public support for 48 Monroe Turnpike or did none
Oh,
of that?
lots of it, tons of
Yeah.
it.
Yep. And Fred, in those discussions, you can wear your chamber hat when appropriate and just keep me posted, right?
My pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you.
Even just seeing the success of like the area on Monroe Turnpike with Panera
Yeah.
and Aldi's and the gas station, and now they're building something else, but that's all Monroe. So
Right.
it's doing really, really well. It's right within the vicinity. So, he can argue they can argue that it's whatever the reason that they don't want it is, but it's doing really well. The public loves it, but we're not getting any of that tax revenue or that economic development for Trumbull. So this is really a block away, and it would be great to have our own.
It's an ideal location.
So, it's interesting. All of those projects in Monroe, though, just so you know, have a tax abatement. They did a tax abatement on every single one of them. So they discounted greatly their tax revenue, but that's a different policy issue. But I do think I agree with you, Layla, that it is a vibrant area. We have the whole complex with what do you call it? Prime 111, that whole area. Even the 123 Plaza has livened up. We have a sushi place going in there too, so that'll be pretty much full except for our back area. We've got this project would be next, and then the Monroe stuff right over the line. So it's really, the corridor is building.
Mm.
And again, you know, they have a statutory right to appeal. Doesn't mean they'll win, and it doesn't mean they won't, but it just delays it. And what ends up happening is, you know, you can lose commitments over time if it takes, you know. So I do think this is a good approach, that if we meet and we get a little Zoom meeting together and draft up a letter for the commission to take up, well, Justin will throw you, if, I think you're saying you want to be in on that smaller meeting. So let me just see, if there's 3 of us, that's not a quorum, right? There's 3 voting members, because we need more for a quorum. So that wouldn't constitute an illegal meeting, so that works out good. Okay, and then we can bring the draft back in February.
Okay.
That's very helpful.
Rena,
Yes.
I have no way of knowing, but I would think that the DiNardos may be thinking that if we get another food store up on 111, that will mean that they can't get another food store in the Trumbull Center.
They may be feeling that way, but here's the problem. They can't, you know, that may be their motive. I don't, you know, I can't say.
Any other
One, I do think that we can still get a market there under the right circumstances. And this market would not go there. And many of the other people are, you know, they want it to be in a certain area.
Right.
So there's other places like Aldi's and so forth that want to be more on the southern side of town now. They have one on the northern side there in Monroe. So they're still looking. Their deal fell apart in Bridgeport, from what I understand, North Bridgeport. Dan, I don't know if you know any more about that, but it looks like if it's not dead, it's close to dead. So they're looking around to do another one in the southern part of Bridgeport, Trumbull. You know what I mean? So it doesn't mean that there's not room in the market. So whether that's their motive or not, look at, you know, any other community. You can't stop someone from doing, you know, it's really just not healthy you're trying to control the town and the growth of the town, and that's very unhealthy.
Right.
But anyway, it is what it is. I can't, you know, there's nothing more I don't see us being able to do except support, except, you know, try to give, you know, show the community sentiment, and hope that the court, you know, process moves forward swiftly. I mean, you know, so,
Right.
you know, stay tuned. We're going to be talking about this for a while.
Right.
Okay. And while I'm talking about 48 Monroe Turnpike, because that's right, you know, that was held up. And while it was being held up, the market conditions changed and the financing conditions changed, and it really delayed that project. But I've been in ongoing discussions with the developer. There, I think I told you in our meeting in December that they lined up their financing, they lined up their partnerships and their operator. They're working through some specific details, and they're hoping, you know, to meet more formally with the town again close to the end of the first quarter of this year. So I'm hoping that this year that gets underway, that project. And there's no reason to think it wouldn't unless something extraordinary happened. So I hope that gets going. But if you think about holding something up for 5 years and then actually causing an additional delay because of the market condition shift over those 5 years, and thinking about fully built out, if you're adding $2 million in tax revenue over those years, that's a lot of money that's not in the community.
Right.
So it's really, really unfortunate. But at least now we're coming out of that. I want to go to, I've got a bunch of other things on the list. On a brighter note about Trumbull Center, I do think people are excited that the buildings are coming down. It does look drastic Some people don't want the buildings down because they remember how it was when they were kids or what businesses were there or whatever. But we really need to open up that plaza. I think we talked about it, to make that real estate more competitive and to start to transition. Justin, I'd be interested if you're hearing anything, because you're sort of right there. I mean, are you okay
yeah.
there?
Yeah, as far as the appearance,
Just everything related to it.
yeah,
Were you disrupted a lot from it? Are
there was
getting?
there was a little bit of disruption. It wasn't significant. It was done very swiftly, and the appearance it's a lot more open, a lot
Yeah,
cleaner looking.
yeah,
So definitely a significant improvement.
yeah. Looks like they're doing a little more work. I was by there today on the professional building in the back. That's gonna
Okay.
be coming down imminently. And they've got a lot of, clearing and the hole, to fill the holes in from where the foundation hole was dug. And then I guess in the spring, they've gotta do, the beautification of it. Rob has, I don't know if we circulated the rendering or not of the Pocket Park area. Let's circulate that. Rob worked with Peter DiNardo to get a sort of concept for the Pocket Park there. Gia can send it to you. And if both you and anybody else that's over there, just if you're hearing anything, about complaints or anything like that, if you can just kind of keep me in the loop,
Yeah.
because I've been trying to check in with the existing businesses. I just wanna, so far, I think people are really positive about it. They are like, wow, this is starting to change. This is the good thing for our business. That's what I'm hearing.
The social media posts I've seen have been excited. I mean, I think people have been waiting for so long for that. They were very frustrated.
Yeah, I don't know, there's so many different sites. Some of it was negative, unfortunately, and some of it was a lot, I think more positive that I saw than negative, but a fair amount of negative too. But it is what it is. I mean, I think in general, I gotta believe that the majority of people want to see some change, and they're starting to believe, wow, this is really physical change that's happening there. So that's a good thing. And while we're sticking in Trumbull Center, I already told you that the
Oh, it froze.
back. Okay,
Yep.
sorry about that. The orthodontist office opened, and they're finishing up I gotta go over to Next Chapter books again. I don't know if anybody's been up there to see the progress of their expanded space or not. Did you go over, G, like a couple?
Yeah, there it was the wall, like all the actual structure is done and painted, all of that. And then I saw what was new when I stopped in just after the holidays was they have tables and chairs in there.
Okay, so they're getting there.
Yeah.
They're getting there. So those are all positive things. And some of you might have seen that I posted regarding Antonio's Bistro that's opening hopefully in late January, maybe early February, but they still are predicting January as a soft opening. They're having a little hiring event at the place. If somebody can't make it on the 9th, just have them pop over, because either they're there or workers are there. People that are interested can drop their resume there. They have a whole team that they have to hire, so if you know of anybody, get the word out. Okay,
Okay.
so
When's it tomorrow?
the 9th is Thursday, I think. I'm getting my days mixed up.
Yeah.
I'm still pretending mentally that I'm in Florida, but I'm not, I'm back. I came back to cold and.
Oh, did you ever?
Yeah. Two other important things I want to talk about. Oh, let me just touch on the Long Hill Green improvements. Beryl mentioned the light. I think everybody's seen it. For the most part, the feedback's very positive. There's still some people who don't feel we needed the light, or the light was too expensive, or whatever. The project included the light the improvements to the intersection, crosswalk, realignment of driveways. It's more than just the physical light, but it was approximately a $900,000 project. I think I told you in previous meetings, but the green space has been, the redesign of the green space there was bid out. We have all the money in place. It's coming from 5 or 6 different grants and sources. But there was a bid, there's been a contractor selected. So as soon as the weather gets warmed up enough, the changes to the green space, which include grading, plantings, some other aesthetic improvements, to make it more welcoming, and some sidewalking, that will get done. We also, got the group from the Conservation Commission. They voted, I think in their December meeting, to up to $10,000. They're out of the 10,000 trees, or I think it's 1,000 trees for Trumbull. They voted up to $10,000. They will pay for new trees that are part of our design for Long Hill Green. So they allocated some of their funding for the 1,000 Trees program to some of the trees there, which was a nice collaborative with the Conservation Commission. And they had some say in what kind of trees and that kind of thing. I stay out of that. I don't know anything about trees. And then the last program, infrastructure wise, in Long Hill Green, is the sidewalk down to the trail. As I told you, that's fully funded. It'll go out to bid probably in February, and that work will start when school gets out. I'm sure you're looking at the medical office building, and they're working on the site there.
Yeah.
That house will come down at some point. They're working through the demolition process. They had to relocate a resident that was in there, so that's part of that. So that work, to the degree the weather holds out, is continuing in Long Hill Green. So now I want to go to the area over by Reservoir Avenue and Lindeman. And this is very important, and I'm going to communicate this in writing at some point in the future. In that area, we've been working for probably almost 1.5 years, maybe 2 years, on the Cambridge Drive area. Okay, Cambridge Drive, everybody knows, can everybody acknowledge that they know where I'm talking about? Otherwise, I'll explain the area better.
Yeah.
Okay, so you know that terrible building that we had, there was an approved storage development there. It fell out of contract, remember that? So it's the good news is it's back under an LOI and going under contract with a different developer, but for the same plan. So it's moving forward. They have a very tight timeline to, they're doing 60 days of due diligence, I think, and then an imminent closing shortly thereafter. So it's back on track, okay, with somebody that's done a lot of work locally, that has done a great job on projects they've taken on. So we're back on track there, which is very positive, because we all know the eyesore we have going on there, never mind the attractive nuisance, or no, unattractive, not attractive, unattractive nuisance, or whatever it is that's over there. Next door to that is a property called 12 Cambridge Drive. It has an office building on it. Thrive is in there if you came to the ribbon cutting there. It's got Synergy Healthcare, which is a chamber member. It's got a couple, that building has filled back up. It's about 75 to 80% full now. It was down to about 25% occupied, so 75% unoccupied. Now it's probably 75 to 80% occupied. That parcel has additional surplus land on it, and we've been working with the owner of that property for probably 1.5 years or 2 years to talk about senior housing there. We think it's a great use of that surplus property. We've been working with them to try to forward a text amendment to allow it. They will keep the office building, so there's no demolition of the office building. That asset will stay, and they would build on surplus property, and they're proposing to access the site from Old Town Road. So they're not in the site plan process yet, so you don't have full drawings, but they have, you know, a basic concept, and we've worked with them extensively. They've been very communicative with the town. So recently, and please follow me because this is there's a lot of twists and turns, and please, if I go on long, I need to give you the context. So recently, a group came to us from their attorneys and their brokers, said they wanted to meet with us regarding another property in that general area. And they talked about the Avery Abrasives property on the corner of Reservoir Avenue and Lindeman Drive. And they came to me and they said, well, we want to do senior housing there. And I said, no, we don't want senior housing there. That's a viable commercial corner. In our planning studies, we even wanted to see that potentially expand its commercial potential on that corner. They kind of went away, and then they came back asking for a meeting with me, the first selectman, Rob, and our land use attorney. So we had such a meeting, and I laid out to them the reasons why, from an economic and community development position, we did not support it. It went beyond just the corner, which we feel it's a viable commercial corner. We don't want to put 4-story buildings on that corner. It's tight, other things. Plus, the market, while planning and zoning doesn't necessarily deal with market viability, I do. Economic and community development deals with market viability. To put 2 projects in that same proximity, one will knock the other out. It's too many units to lease up at the same time. 55 or older, this is, okay, senior. And they admitted that in the meeting that we had, that yes, both are not market viable. So, which further underscored why we don't want them there, because we have and they're proposing to take down the existing building on the corner of where Avery Braces is, and to build, I think it was 155 units there of senior housing. The Cambridge Drive is going to keep the existing real estate, the office building, and build on surplus property that has only de minimis taxes associated with a few $1,000s because it's just surplus land, where nothing else can really go on that land at 12 Cambridge because it's not on a visible, you know, it's not commercially viable for anything else. It's okay. So from an economic and community development perspective, you're taking a commercial property out, taking down a building and putting up housing there, okay? So net, you're already not going to produce, because I can take that commercial property, up the value of that, okay? But at the same time, we can still get the return to the grand list for the 12 Cambridge project, okay? I'm not speaking to the quality of the developer or anything. They're an excellent developer. They do a great job. It has nothing to do with who they are, anything like that. It's sheerly looking at the economic development potential of that land use on that property versus the other land use, and looking at the market viability or the lack of market viability of both of those projects. Is everyone following me?
Mhm.
So it's unfortunate that this same group, they're, like I said, good developer, they have great projects on their website, they're very professional. It has nothing to do with them personally. But this same group, a year and a half ago, came to us wanting to they came to us through their brokers and their attorney, wanting to put this senior housing on One Trefoil Drive. Okay, just to listen to this, you can't make this up, right? And I said at that point, no, that property is commercially viable. We need that property. Trumbull doesn't have a lot of, we don't have a lot of commercial corridors or anything like that, right? So we knew that property had commercial viability. Of course, they told me, absolutely it doesn't. It's not commercially viable. I said, believe me, I know what's commercially viable and what isn't, because I talk to a variety of different people, developers, investors, retailers, restaurant, so forth, grocers, okay? It is commercially viable. So they went away and I told them, why don't you talk to the people at this time, it's like a year and a half ago, at 48 Monroe Turnpike. They're looking for a partnership. Maybe there could be something there. I believe they did have a conversation. I believe it didn't go anywhere really. I mentioned to them the mall, that we're going to be trying to forward some regulation revisions down the line to try to put some senior housing potentially on that property, right? So I gave them that lead. And then I said, look over in the area by Planet Fitness on Cambridge Drive. I did not say look on Reservoir Avenue or look on Lindeman Drive. There was no property even viable or for sale. Okay. So I said I was trying to get them to look at Cambridge Drive because at that time, this is a year and a half ago, the owner of Cambridge Drive didn't know if they were going to do the project themselves or they were going to bring a partner in. So they did have a conversation, from what I've been told, with Cambridge Drive. For whatever reason, the Cambridge Drive people chose to go a different route, not do it with this developer or turn it over to this developer. So apparently I didn't know what happened after that. I had not really heard from them until this issue where they started surfacing through their real estate brokers and through their attorney on this Avery Abrasives property. So in our meeting, they never mentioned doing a pre-application in our meeting. They came to us, they said, and we told them, I actually gave them information on another property on another side of town. I said, maybe here, this is potentially going to come on the market. It might be a good place for senior housing. I reiterated the mall, site down the line, but not on a commercially viable. But this is the second time they tried to take out a commercially viable property for housing. So we left it that they were going to.
It froze.
Am I back?
Yes,
You're back.
Okay, sorry. Can you hear me now?
yes.
Okay. So, it's unfortunate that they're getting this situation twice, but again, if there was like when we did 10 Trumbull years back, that property had been vacant since 2014. It was not on a commercial corner, a high traffic corner. It was an empty old 1970s office building, 70,000 square feet that no one was going to occupy. So it was not a commercially viable office building. There was no big office tenants looking, the deal with office. I don't even need to tell you. So again, the 48 Monroe Turnpike, 250,000 square foot vacant since 2014, office building up on a hill, okay, which is really tough for certain types of commercial development. So those lended themselves to new use, to an in the case of 48 Monroe Turnpike, it's an adaptive reuse because they're keeping the building. They're going to take it to the skin and work within the building, right? And in the case of 10 Trumbull, that was a demolition. And so the difference is, it's not that we'll never look at a commercial property, but not one in a target area that has commercial viability to add to the amenities and the things that the community wants. Like, to Layla's point, everybody wants the grocery store or whatever, the rest, more of that piece, right? So what happened was they were supposed to come back to us for a follow-up meeting. Next thing you know, they're applying for a pre-app, okay? And I'm going to stop there because and I'm going to stop there and I'm not going to continue the story until a subsequent meeting. And I was sick the night of the pre-app, but I am going to let the commission know the economic and community development perspective that I have. And I can tell you that I know our first selectman is not supportive of that project on that corner. It's too much for that corner. She understands the commercial viability. I want to share with you And that would be, a 3 or 4 story building, 3 or 4 stories. Think of the height of that on that tight corner, okay? That's not what we're looking to do. The project 10 Trumbull, that's visible from the Merritt Parkway, but it's tucked back, it's away from, it's not really on residents. The Woods side, when that project came to us initially on the former lumberyard on Reservoir Avenue, they came with all high-rise buildings. And Vicky, our first selectman, I should say, in that meeting, she said, we cannot have that along the Reservoir Avenue frontage. It's too drastic a change from the residential. You need to scale it down. Can you do a townhouse scale to the front so that it transitions for the neighborhood? And they agreed to that. They had enough property. They were very engaged. They agreed to that. That's how that happened. Otherwise, they were proposing 4 stories. These are things that the community really doesn't know that happened prior to, but they scaled it down to the front. And then it also offered 2 different models. Some people don't want a high rise. Some people want like a townhouse kind of style. So again, this group, I think, they're looking for ways to continue their dialogue. And I'll stop there. But I will be putting all of this in writing. I will present it to you and to the Planning and Zoning Commission more thoroughly in a format that outlines this. But from a grand list perspective, it's not, if both projects are not viable, and they admitted that in the meeting, market viable. So the better grand list scenario for us from a financial perspective is the 12 Cambridge project. It's property that won't otherwise develop. It's paying de minimis taxes, and they're not tearing down the existing structure. We retain that. This corner, at the same time, I can work with that to redevelop it to something greater than the existing value, okay? This project were to go, it'll kill the other project. We will get no grand list growth there. We'll have a building come down and then a building go up, okay? So again, when I'm trying, and I've laid all this out, and this is my job to lay this out, I've been challenged by someone who's in an authority of land use board that what is this? Why are you meeting with these? We meet with people, economic community development planning, the administration. We meet with people before they get to the land use boards. We have to weigh in, page 51 of our POCD, business development, the right development in the right places under the right circumstances. My job is to drive investment where appropriate and to discourage it where not. And I know there are people in the community who have different opinions on that, but we try to do it, in accordance with our plan of conservation and development and our municipal planning. We have a municipal plan for that area. And Gia helped me out. I put her on these search and discovery missions. She's really good at it. She went through the entire plan, flagged everywhere in the plan that notes that parcel as additional commercial expansion or development. Vicky used a good description in one of the meeting that we had. This could be a potential Madison Village type area. There's no other amenities in that area. And people argued that Madison Village, that's never going to work. There's nobody around there. Look at how successful it is. I think everybody knows where Madison Village is that I'm referring to, where Sitting Duck is and that. So this could be that. We go out and visit the businesses. And I think, Evelyn, you were at the ribbon cutting with us with the dermatology group in 7 Cambridge and a couple of first thing they said is we need somewhere to get a lunch, get a coffee, get this. We have 12 new businesses there. They just opened this school. Those teachers, the staff, the people coming in and out, they want to stop for a quart of milk. If they want to pick up bread or, in a market or their lottery tickets or a lunch or a sandwich or coffee outside of work, people going to the gym, if they want to come in and out, there's now residents there. They have to get out of the area to get a quick, whatever they would be looking for, amenity to the area. That's the only real corner that you can do that on for that area. We give that up for senior housing, which we can put somewhere else. And it's nothing personal. Again, I want to underscore. And I was accused of, well, we are trying to pick a winner and a loser. I'm not trying to do that. It's not personal. It is an economic and community development argument that I'm making. That's my job to do it. If people want to vote against it and vote this other thing in and it happens and we don't maximize our grand list and we give up a commercial and we do all these things, that'll happen. But I have an obligation to put it on the record, to fight hard. And I can tell you, I'm not happy with the treatment I'm getting from a certain corner. And that's all I'll say. Has nothing to do with the administration. Vicky's and Rob and our land use staff has been terrific. We're all on the same page and we have been from the beginning. But there's some other things operating here and I'm not happy about it, but that's okay. I persevere just like everybody else in their jobs, right? You got to have bumps in the road, but to be continued. So I also want to say in that same neighborhood, if you go down a couple of parcels over, there's a couple of houses that were purchased by someone who is proposing a workforce housing project there. 42 units of workforce housing. Workforce housing is not age restricted, and it's not necessarily the deepest level of affordability, but it has a more affordable component to it than just market rate. The text amendment was presented again. I wasn't at the meeting. I had the flu, but the commission gave them feedback to edit that further and clarify it further. So they're working on that. But this particular developer has talked about, trying to prioritize teachers and firemen and that kind of thing. So programs and within what is legal to do to try to do that. They initially came in wanting many more units, 80 something. They've backed it down to, I want to say it's either 42 or 48 units that they're trying to do. It's set way in the back. They're going to preserve their proposal, at least last I heard from them, was to preserve the regular house to the front. It would almost sit in the rear behind it, and that they would preserve the regular residential house to keep it transitional. So that is working through the process.
Where
One
is
of the
that?
things-
Excuse me?
That's on Reservoir Avenue. If you go down, I want to say it's from the corner that we were just talking about where Avery Abrasives is.
Right.
It's 2 parcels over, maybe 3.
Okay.
So it's hard to see because it goes back. And there's really not a lot in the back there. It abuts a junkyard, a construction yard property that's been on and off the market. So it abuts, I think, the rear of 12 Cambridge actually also. So that is working through. The reason, one, I do think we have to start to explore some workforce housing that's a little bit more affordable, but also it helps us to get moratorium points. We do know how many points we need for a moratorium. I will present that in another meeting in the future because it's not imminent. It's going to take us a few years to get there. But we've made great progress in identifying, and Gia's been a big part of this, and some other people on staff helping to, and some legal counsel, helping to identify where we are with our current points for a moratorium for, against the 830G statute, not because we don't want affordable housing, but because we want to be able to use our own local process to get it versus being, having somebody be able to come in and do it any way they want. So the moratorium that we would work toward would be a 4-year moratorium, but we need so many points, and you earn points based on the number and type of affordable units that you add. And we'll present on that in a future meeting. I don't want to get into that today, but some of these projects we have to get online so that we can get more points. So that's part of a discussion for the future. That's a community development discussion to be continued. Maybe, in March, we can set some time on this agenda to get more into that.
Is the one, the project on White Plains Road, is that going to have a certain percentage of affordable housing? Did I not read that?
The one in Trumbull Center?
Yes.
Yeah, that's
White
10%.
Plains.
Yep, and it would be, that would be 5 units would be at 80% affordability in that project. The project that's been approved for the Trumbull Monroe line that's stalled, although we're working on that project with Monroe. Vicky called a meeting with Monroe First Selectman, my counterpart, myself, our land use people and different people, and the owner developer that, and we're working on trying to get that project moving, FYI, to be continued. But that approval also has a 10% in it. But again, when a project's not moving forward, the only way you can count the units is when they receive a certificate of occupancy. They have to be built and receive their CO, and we have to file those COs and other documentation that associates with it with the state only through a window that opens one time a year. So it's a crazy process. We'll
Yeah.
take you through it, Gia and I, maybe in the March meeting, just to give this group an understanding from a community development perspective. So, you know, we're getting there, but we do need some additional units to come online.
When does the current moratorium expire?
The moratorium we have is not an affordable housing moratorium against the 830G. It's a market rate. So it has nothing to do with the 830G. It's just a local against any market rate stuff. That expires every January, February, and the commission can choose to extend it or amend it. Last year or the year before, they amended it. Because you can't keep it in place permanently, it won't stand up. But as we're evaluating impact to schools and services, we're able to continue. So it's my feeling that the Planning and Zoning Commission will probably continue it as is and try to limit large scale multifamily proposals. But again, if somebody wants to come in with what they call an 830G, that's not covered under that moratorium. They can come in under the 830G. The only way for us to get a moratorium under the 830G is through the state of Connecticut. We have to file an enormous amount of information and paperwork, and we have to have so many moratorium points that have never been previously counted, and those points come from CO'd units that meet the qualifications, that have the proper deed restrictions, the proper affordability, and all kinds of paperwork that associates. It's insane. I'm not even joking. So it's, you know, we'll get you more. I think I gave you a hint as to what that is, but we can talk more about it. And we can tell you where our existing points are coming from that we can put toward the moratorium and so forth. And let's try to do that in March. Is that fair? Everybody? All right, so the only last thing I wanted to get to, and I know I got to get to the wetlands meeting too, is we do have a number of events that we're working on. Gia and I and Dan will be in touch with you on every one of, where's Dan? Is he there? On all of these. If we haven't been already, we're getting rolling. We're doing our internal stuff, Gia and I, to get dates and teams and our thought process together, and then we'll be in touch. There's an SBA event. It's called a business resource event. SBA basically comes in and rolls the whole thing out. Dan, I know you're familiar with this. G, I think you set up the date for May 20th at the library community room. What were the hours that they wanted? 9 to 12?
Yes.
Okay, so that's a business resource event. We'll tell you more about it. We will be promoting it. We will be, you know, adding some little bells and whistles to it, but it's really SBA's show, Small Business Administration show, where they come in and bring resources in, and you try to get the community and of businesses in to meet with them. Okay, so we would really like the chambers and the BRBC's involvement and this commission's involvement when that time comes to promote it. We have a SCORE event. We did one SCORE event back in November. And Gia and I spoke, and we would like to focus on sort of small business taxes and including personal property taxes and other things like that, and maybe a few other topics bundled into that as our next joint SCORE chamber event. We talked about doing 4 a year collaboratively. They do other things in Trumbull without us. We can't do every monthly thing with them. They have their own model, but we were talking about this and we're targeting potentially March to do it. So before the deadline, we want to get it done, get that information out before filing deadlines. Not that it's not always relevant, because, small businesses pay in quarterly, there's all kinds of things they have to plan for all year round. Job fair, we're going to be looking at June. I have a whole file put together. I've already started to talk to businesses. And we're going to be calling. We've got Alyssa, we've got Evelyn, we've got Beryl from this commission on the team. I've already talked to a number of employers, and back in December, we're kind of trying to look at locations. We're going to pull a project team together, to a coordinating team. But we are even considering potentially doing it at Holly Lane Mall. I spoke with the owners there. They were very open to it, and, possibly for free, which is the operative word. And there's plenty of parking, and, so you'll be hearing from, probably Gia will send out the invite to who we have as a planning team, or I might send the initial one to remind everybody what this is, and then she'll be helping with this coordination of the meetings. But by the end of January, we're going to have the team together to meet. And I've got somebody from the Department of Labor sitting on the team, hopefully the chamber. We've got a whole list of people that have said they wanted to be part of it. So those are the events right now. Am I missing anything? I don't think so. So, oh, I know. I already have a speaker for next year's breakfast.
Wow.
John Trainer from M&T. He used to be with Peoples, and now he's on his own. He just spoke in, I don't remember if Dan was there or not, but the December Fairfield County broker meeting, we had the holiday meeting. He was the economist who spoke. He was fantastic. He used to be with People's United, and now I forgot the name of his group. He's already committed to me that if the date, we'll work around his schedule. He promised me he would come, he would speak, and I have to tell you, he's gonna be outstanding. So understandable, incredible.
Good.
So I'm really happy about that we have that, because it's always like, all right, who are we getting to speak, and this kind of thing. I
Okay,
don't have anything else except to call in Alyssa, if I could, through the chair.
okay. Rena, do you have a quick update on the Main Street dollars?
Oh, sorry. So all the certificates were given out, lickety split. We have none left. I really should have probably gotten one more sponsor, but it's hard. I don't need to tell anybody here. So if anybody can start thinking now about next year's sponsors for it, that's always helpful. But we were grateful to the Rotary Club of Trumbull and to the Mustard Seed Foundation, who are our sponsors this year. They went out the door immediately. The program's not over till January 31st. Excuse me. So I don't know how, people still have to use their certificates. Some people. I do think that Gia and I have been talking a little bit about, a lot of them go to Plosco's, which were great, which is wonderful. But in the future, we might think about doing a batch for Plosco's and then a batch for everybody else, so that we spread out, we spread it out a little bit more. We limit, because we want to try to drive business to everybody.
Hmm,
Anyone here use them?
Unfortunately, I missed getting,
Okay.
Sure.
Fred, you used them?
Yeah,
In the-
they were
in the
well, they
past,
worked
yes.
well. Absolutely. And the merchants really liked it too. I really think they added some value to that.
Good. So I'd like to grow it, but again, we're getting sponsors for Restaurant Week. On the heels of that, we're getting sponsors for Main Street Dollars. It's Trumbull Day. Other people, there's only so much sponsorship money out there, so it's
Right.
tough. Does anybody have any questions for me before Alyssa addresses the group? Okay.
Has Dan left us?
No, I think Alyssa has, I've asked her to make some comment.
Okay, Alyssa, you have the,
Well, I guess this will be my last meeting with you guys,
Oh.
because I will be, an alternate on the Planning and Zoning Committee. And, unfortunately, I can't do both. I guess it's how it works, Rena. I mean, when I'm on that, I can't be on this committee any longer. So I was, accepted by the town council last night, so it's gonna be official tomorrow, but that's why I was able to kind of stay on this call tonight but I'll be here to help, and it was just a great experience. So thank you all. I really appreciate everything I've learned, everything it's been a great experience. So I appreciate being in this group and this committee.
Well,
I'll
thank you.
miss you all.
Congratulations.
It was great to meet you.
Good luck
You're
to
gonna
you.
be great.
Thank
I
you.
am still holding your feet to the fire on the job fair, though.
I will absolutely. I committed to it, so I will definitely be doing it.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
And I mean, I think your HR background's gonna really help us with that too, so.
Yeah,
really
and I've done a ton of them before. So in terms of like helping, at least prep the companies to what to look for, the employees, the
Yeah,
applicants. So
that'd
I
be
definitely would
great.
love to.
That'd be great.
Great.
Okay.
So, okay,
right.
sorry, Beryl. Do you have any other questions for me, Beryl?
no, but I'm looking for Dan.
He might have stepped off. I could cover for him just briefly. Yeah, can I just cover a little update for Dan and from the BRBC and the Trumbull Chamber? So just a quick update on social media. The Trumbull Chamber now is highlighting local small business owners in the community that are chamber members. And you'll see through our social media tags and information to help promote their businesses. We're interested in growing this. So if anybody knows of any other connections we can make to do a warm introduction using our social media, please let us know. And then Dan also wanted to inform us in February, it looks like Governor Lamont is going to be speaking at a location to be determined very soon on behalf of the BRBC in partnership with another chamber. We're very optimistic to finally get him into the area and hear some thoughts behind his next plans for the state of Connecticut and where we're heading.
Okay,
That's awesome.
any other comments? Does anybody have any questions or comments? I would just like before we leave, I'd like to put in our minutes that the commission extends their sympathy to Marshall, who has lost his brother this week. And I think it would be nice if that were officially in our minutes. Can I have a motion to do that?
I
So
make a
moved.
motion.
I second.
Fred and Layla second. All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. That is it. Rena?
Yeah, just my last thing I had forgot to mention this. We were going to do a presentation on the mall study in January.
Yeah.
But we pushed it off to February, so that's why I was saying with the other stuff, we'll take up that letter that we're talking about in February, and then the mall presentation will be part of that meeting. And then we'll deal with the housing stuff in March, because there's a lot of things.
Okay, so February will be a mall update.
Yeah,
Okay. Very good. Thank you. Thank you, everybody. Stay safe, stay warm.
did we get a motion to,
I
No,
move to
we did
adjourn.
not.
Adjourn.
To adjourn,
I'm sorry, can I hear that again? I don't know who motioned.
I motion to adjourn.
motion to adjourn,
Justin.
Justin, and who is second?
I'll second it.
Massimo? Okay.
Massimo?
Massimo. Okay.
Thank you. All those in favor?
Aye.
Abstain? Okay, thank you.
Thank you,
Happy
everyone.
New Year.
Thank you, everyone.
We're in the
Have a good
wetlands.
evening.
Stay warm.
Wetlands. If anybody wants to join me in wetlands.
No, that's it.
All right.
Keep us posted, Rena.
Yes, keep us posted.